Welcome back to the shop. So today we are going to go through stage 2 of turning our safety deposit boxes into a matched set of get to the choppers. So I'm really excited to take you along this journey, so let's get right to it and let's have some fun. If you remember from the last video, I talked about there being a couple of different ways of getting these blades to shape. So the first and primary way that you can make a blade, obviously, as we all know, is by forging one to shape. However, there's also something to be said for stock removal. I'm gonna do a little bit of both here. So I've forged my Damascus out into roughly the size and the shape that I need to make 2 blades. And I want these blades to be as close to identical as possible. That includes the pattern. So what I've done is I've drawn out some shapes onto the bar of Damascus, and I'm gonna use a stock removal method to get the blades from there. So let me show you what we've got, and then we'll go through that process together. So here's my bar of Damascus, and what I've done is I've just drawn out 2 matched blades onto this bar. The bar is already roughly the thickness that I need it to be, and it's almost the shape that I need it to be. I just need to remove a little bit of material here, and then I'll just cut the tangs out. What that's gonna do is ensure that my blades, the pattern specifically that's running through the blades, is gonna be as close to matched as possible, because this is a custom order. The customer wants 2 blades that match, so the easiest way to ensure that the pattern matches is to do it this way. So let's cut them out and see what happens. What I'm gonna do now is just do some general layout. I've got both of these knife pieces of Damascus roughed out into more or less identical knife blanks. This knife has got a few really cool components to it. It's got a flat grind that goes most of the way up the blade. It's got a fuller on both sides. It's got a multi-part handle construction so that we have a guard, a sub-hilt with a wood spacer between, then another through tang, part of the wooden handle, ending in a threaded pommel. And so there's a lot of stuff going on in this blade. And so before I do any grinding on this to get it to that shape, before I heat treat this, because I'm gonna do a rough grind to get it ready for heat treat, and then I can finish everything out. I just wanna rough in some of the lines that need to be on here so that when I go to my belt grinder, I kind of know where I'm going. The blades are rough ground, and I couldn't help myself. I did a little test etch just to see where the pattern's gonna show up, and I'm really excited about this. They're gonna look great. I'm really excited. There is, however, still a possibility of catastrophic failure. I still haven't heat treated these. So in order to because I'm dealing with unknown steel here, I'm going to normalize these blades very carefully. I'm going to run through 3 normalization cycles, and I'm going to normalize them based on the steel that's going to be the cutting edge of my blade. And so that way, I give myself the best chance of getting a good performing blade out of this, because I'm dealing with unknowns. So I'm going to normalize these 3 times, and then I'm going to quench them and temper them And I may show you the quench. I'm not going to show you much of the other stuff because it's literally just me putting stuff into the oven. So yeah, you know what, man, I just may show you a shot of me putting them in the oven just because. So I'm going to run them through 3 normalization cycles, quench them, then 3 tempering cycles, and then from there I'll be able to do the finish grind and start working on the fittings and making sure that these blades are just going to be just right. So let's get that going. The knives are in the heat treating oven right now, going through the normalization cycles. And so I want to play around with getting the fittings made. And this is going to be tricky because I'm used to doing these out of brass and I'm going to have to do them out of steel. So let's take a look at what I'm going to be working with and we'll see what we can do from there. This is the material that I'm working with. This is literally the door from a safety deposit box. This is where the locks went, the hinges, all that, and you can see this is 1/2-inch plate steel. So now I've just got to figure out how to machine this correctly to get as close as possible to an accurate duplicate set of hardware. I like to do everything with templates. There's obviously plenty of steel to go on here. So I think what I'm gonna do to start with is just cut off some strips of this that I can then in turn machine the parts that I need out of. So let's do that. Here are a few pieces of my safe deposit box door cut into pieces, and now I'm just going to take them into the grinding room, clean them up, get them all nice and square so that I can actually start marking out some of the hardware for these blades. Now that I've got these more or less squared up, I'm going to go ahead and lay out very, very roughly the pieces of the handle that I want to make here. And this will give me kind of an idea of where to cut and what to machine.
Double quench.
Quench went great, and I actually did a test quench of the steel from the safety deposit boxes just to see if I could figure out if it was hardenable or not. Turns out it's some form of non-hardenable steel, at least with the equipment and the techniques that I have and am familiar with. So, which is a really good thing since I didn't put any of it on my cutting edge. So the knives hardened up great. There's plenty of martensite showing there. My safety deposit steel is well away from my edge. So everything looks really, really good. I'm gonna throw these in the tempering oven for a few cycles overnight, and then we'll get started on the fittings and the fit and finish, which is really where the bulk of this this build takes place. So thanks for joining me. Hit like and subscribe. I'm currently taking orders. So if you're interested in purchasing a custom knife, then by all means, please just let me know. I'd love to make something for you. And who knows, I might make the video, the next YouTube series about your knife. So thanks for joining us, and I'll see you in the next video.